In 1992, a German scientist tested Egyptian mummies for drugs. She expected to find nothing unusual. Instead, she found cocaine and tobacco, both plants that in 1200 BC only existed in one place on Earth, the Americas, which according to every history book, ancient Egyptians had never visited. So how did cocaine and tobacco end up inside 3,000-year-old Egyptian mummies? That question has split historians ever since. Dr. Svetlana Balabanova was a forensic toxicologist at the Munich Institute of Forensic Medicine. In 1992, she was asked to test Egyptian mummies from a museum collection for various substances. Using a technique called radioimmunoassay, which is the same method used in modern drug testing. She found traces of cocaine, hashish, and tobacco in 9 mummies tested. She checked her equipment, she reran the tests, she brought in other scientists. Every single time, the results came back the same. She published her findings in a scientific journal. The reaction from the history community was immediate and brutal. Other scientists accused her of contamination, of procedural errors, of incompetence. Because if she was right, it meant ancient Egyptians had contact with the Americas, roughly 2,700 years before Columbus, which would completely rewrite the history of ancient seafaring and trade. Other scientists eventually tested different Egyptian mummies from collections around the world. Several independent labs confirmed similar findings. The cocaine and tobacco traces weren't contamination, they were real, and they were consistent, which left historians with a problem that still hasn't been fully resolved. There are essentially 3 explanations historians have proposed. The first, ancient transoceanic contact between Egypt and the Americas, suggesting ancient Egyptian or other Mediterranean sailors crossed the Atlantic far earlier than we assumed. This theory has passionate supporters, particularly in the alternative history community, but it lacks direct supporting evidence beyond the mummy findings themselves. No ancient Egyptian texts, no art, no artifacts describe or depict the Americas. The second theory, the cocaine and tobacco plants existed in the Old World too, in species now extinct. Some botanists have suggested that closely related plant species may have existed in Africa or Asia, and have since died out, leaving no trace in the modern botanical record. This would explain the chemical traces without requiring any transatlantic voyages. The third theory, ancient drug trade routes we haven't fully mapped yet. Some researchers believe ancient trade networks were far more extensive than mainstream history acknowledges. Substances moving hand to hand across thousands of miles through chains of traders without direct contact, reaching Egypt from ultimately American origins without anyone making the full journey themselves. All 3 theories have problems. None fully explains everything. And the mummies keep sitting in museums still testing positive. Even setting aside the most dramatic theory, this discovery matters, because it forces us to take seriously the idea that ancient trade networks were vastly more complex than we teach. We know Roman coins have been found in ancient Japanese sites. Chinese silk has been found in Viking graves. Indian spices have been found in Bronze Age European settlements. Ancient people moved things, ideas, and substances across distances we tend to assume were impossible for the time. The cocaine mummies may simply be the most startling example of this pattern. Not evidence of aliens or lost advanced civilizations, just evidence that ancient humans were far more mobile, curious, and connected than we give them credit for, and that our maps of ancient history are probably still missing huge pieces. The mummies found the cocaine before we found the root, which means somewhere out there, the evidence of how it got there is still waiting to be found. 3,000-year-old Egyptian mummies, testing positive for cocaine and tobacco. Plants that shouldn't exist anywhere near Egypt for another 2,700 years. An answer that nobody has fully agreed on yet. If you want more discoveries that break the rules of what we think we know, subscribe. Next week, a bridge in Scotland where dogs have been jumping off for 60 years.